Deep within a magical ancient forest, hidden from the eyes of the world, lies a secret fairyland. Here, nestled amongst mossy banks and whispering ferns, are the most enchanting little mushroom houses you could ever imagine. Their colorful caps dot the forest floor like scattered jewels. Sparkling fairies with wings like stained glass call this place home. They are beings of pure joy and light, their laughter echoing through the trees like tiny silver bells. Not far from their village, a series of beautiful waterfalls cascade down moss-covered rocks, their constant song the soundtrack to the fairies' lives. Life here is idyllic, in this beautiful fairyland. Days are spent playing hide-and-seek amongst the bluebells, dancing in circles of firelight under the moon, and creating melodies that drift on the breeze, weaving magic into the very air. They live in perfect harmony with nature, their hearts full of peace and contentment. But paradise, as it often does, had a shadow lurking at its edge. One grim afternoon, the earth began to tremble. Heavy, clumsy footsteps thudded through the forest, shaking the delicate mushroom homes. The trolls had found them. These were not the friendly trolls of storybooks. These were hulking, grumpy creatures with stony skin and a dreadful appetite for fairy dust. To them, a sparkling fairy was nothing more than a tasty, crunchy snack. Panic erupted in the once peaceful village. The trolls, with their huge, grasping hands, lumbered through the mushroom grove, snatching up terrified fairies and tossing them into grimy sacks. The air, once filled with music and laughter, was now thick with cries of fear. A brave little fairy named Flicker, her wings trembling but her eyes bright with determination, knew they had to escape. "Follow me," she whispered urgently. An elder fairy led a small group of survivors through secret tunnels under ancient tree roots, the trolls' roars echoing behind them. They darted through thorny brambles and across babbling brooks, their tiny hearts pounding in their chests. They had to leave their beautiful homes behind, a heartbreaking sacrifice for their freedom. After a terrifying chase, they finally found refuge in a clearing far, far away. Looking back, they could see the faint, tragic glow of their ruined village. Their homes were gone, but they were alive. With heavy hearts but unbroken spirits, the fairies knew they couldn't live on the forest floor anymore. They needed a new home, a safe haven. Their eyes turned upward, toward the sky. There, reaching high above all the other trees, stood a colossal, magical oak. Its branches were so vast they seemed to touch the clouds, and its trunk was too wide and smooth for any clumsy troll to climb. It was perfect. Working together, they began their new lives. They hollowed out cozy rooms within the tree's sturdy branches, built winding staircases from spiraling vines, and strung bridges of spider silk from one bough to another. High above the ground, far from the reach of the lumbering trolls, they were finally safe from harm. Their new home in the great oak tree became a fortress of hope. Months slipped by like leaves on the wind. The forest changed its green coat for one of gold and red, and then one morning, the fairies awoke to a world blanketed in soft, silent white. Snow. Christmas was coming. A wave of excitement washed through their treetop village. The great oak tree was about to get a festive makeover. The fairies zipped and zoomed through the branches, stringing up glowing fairy lights that twinkled like captured stars. They hung garlands of holly and ivy and decorated their doorways with mistletoe. Their entire home began to sparkle, transforming the mighty oak into the most magnificent Christmas tree the forest had ever seen. The air in the treetop village grew thick with the scent of gingerbread and pine. Inside their cozy homes, fairy parents were busy crafting gifts for their little ones. Tiny wooden horses, dolls with gossamer wings, and miniature spinning tops were lovingly wrapped in shimmering leaf paper. In the communal kitchens, a flurry of activity was underway. Fairies were baking miniature fruitcakes, simmering pots of spiced apple cider, and preparing a grand feast for the next day. Christmas Eve was upon them. The whole village gathered around a huge table to enjoy all the wonderful Christmas foods the fairies had prepared for the Christmas Eve feast. They are happily enjoying Christmas Eve. As the evening drew in and more snowflakes began to fall, drifting down like soft goose feathers. The scenery became absolutely breathtaking. The whole fairy community gathered around a crackling hearth high in the tree. They sipped on mugs of rich hot chocolate, toasting tiny fairy-sized marshmallows until they were perfectly golden. The soft glow of the fire, the twinkling lights, and the silent falling snow created a moment of pure magic and peace. Then, at long last, it was Christmas morning. The treetop village was filled with the joyful squeals of fairy children. They rushed to the base of the central hearth, where their presents were piled high, their eyes wide with wonder. The sound of tearing leaf paper and delighted gasps filled the air. Little wings fluttered with excitement as they discovered the treasures their parents had made. Later, all the families came together for the grand Christmas dinner. They had delicious berry cakes and vegetables and heaps of delicious Christmas foods to choose from. The tables groaned under the weight of all the delicious foods they had prepared. There were acorn-stuffed mushrooms, dewdrop jellies, honey-glazed flower petals, and so much more. They ate, they sang carols, and they celebrated their safety, their community, and the magic of the season. It was the most magical Christmas they had ever known, a true testament to their resilience and spirit. From our little treetop home to yours, happy holidays, and we wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. They all lived happily ever after. And that is now the end of our story. This story was written and created by Kaya Hansen.